left you barely hanging on. Oh no, but the burn!
I think this is going to be a really good match. Smooth Selfies have a really good team. Obviously, we'll be playing Symmetrals, who's our reigning champion.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Week 8 of Superior Draft League. We have the Lansing Leafeons versus the Kent Klawfs for the final match of the regular season. After this, we'll be in playoff territory, and it could be anybody's game to win. Right now, this is a very important and crucial match. The Lansing Leafeons have been dominating all season. However, they can still not make playoffs just because of how competitive the season has been. So again, it would require them to both lose this match and for certain opponents within their division to win theirs, and they would be essentially kicked out of playoff contention. So a very important match for the Lansing Leafeons, and another important match for the Kent Klawfs because they're also in that division. So if they get to knock out the Lansing Leafeons and secure a playoffs position for themselves, they will be in a great situation. And the thing is, the Kent Klawfs are one of those teams that can secure playoffs in this match, while the Lansing Leafeons would also need to hope that the rest of the teams in the division do not do so well. Anyways, we do see the two teams here. We do see the Lansing Leafeons locking into Dialga, locking into Landorus, debating on that Ndidi. We saw it hover over it. We see the Golduck getting locked in as well. But let's go ahead and look at the Kent Klawfs' team. Kyogre, Hariyama, Tornadus, Orthworm, the Ursaluna, and the Basque Legion. A lot of these mons having a lot of synergy with one another. You can see the Thunder Tornadus, the Kyogre, both being really good with each other. You add in the Basque Legion, that trio right there does really well with one another. But then you look at the Orthworm and the Ursaluna. Those two do very well with each other as well. We do not see necessarily a Trick Room user here, but I don't think it is entirely necessary for the Kent Klawfs. But we do see that, there's potential where the Lansing Leafeons do set up their own Trick Room, and they can always rely on that strategy. But let's go ahead and see what these two teams opt to start the match with, and this will be the last regular season match. So let's hope for a good one. All right, and the Kent Klawfs lead off with Hariyama and Orthworm. And then the Lansing Leafeons lead off with Dialga and Landorus. Now, the most dominant Pokemon in this situation right now, believe it or not, is the Orthworm. It is very defensive. It gets access to Body Press. Hariyama does get access to Wide Guard here to protect from a spread move. However, the Orthworm probably wants to take a spread move from the Landorus because it has that ability which just absorbs that the ground type moves. So looking at the Dialga, looking at the Landorus setup here, although they're scary at first, they're really not able to do much against Hariyama and the Orthworm. So this is a dominant lead from the Kent Klawfs, I would say. Whereas the Landorus does put some pressure over on the Hariyama. It's not going to be exerting so much damage. But again, it really can't do much based on the current set that it has to the Earthworm. And the Earthworm is in the position to potentially just body press on the Dialga and do some good damage on it. So we didn't see if it was a weakness policy Dialga or assault vest or whatever it may be. I'll have to double check. I believe it was an assault vest Dialga. But again, I think the Kent Klawfs has a really good position here. We see the Dialga swapping out for the Lansing Leafeons, and we do see the Lansing Leafeons opting to go in for that Ndidi, potentially opting to prevent a fake out is what I would assume from that Hariyama. It would be interesting to see if that is the case. We do see the Psychic Seeds kick off here for the Ndidi, which will go ahead and boost its special defense. Not that it would be necessary. We see the Landorus rocking for that Protect. So again, it does secure itself for this turn. We see the fake out coming in from Hariyama. It does go into the Indeedee slot, so it was going for the Dialga. We see the Shed Tail from Earthworm, and this is a significant strategy, usually used in singles, but we're seeing it here in doubles. We're seeing an item kick off. It was a Citrus Berry, so that Earthworm is going to go ahead and retreat, set up a substitute for whichever mon it decides to bring in, which potentially can be the Ursaluna. Again, Ursaluna would greatly benefit from a substitute, and once it switches in, it should kick off its Flame Orb in order to get its Guts, and we do see the Ursaluna coming in right here. And again, this is a great strategy from the Kent Klawfs, using that Shed Tail, which is a new move implemented in this generation. We do see the Flame Orb kick off, and now that Ursaluna is the biggest threat in the field. Now, the Lansing Leafeons have a few options here. We do see the Terra Ghost being an option. We do see the Follow Me, as we do see the Landorus, which has some pivoting moves, has some damaging moves, but it would be interesting to see how the Lansing Leafeons opt to move here. I personally would want to maybe U-turn and try to chip away, honestly, as much as I can to that sub, but potentially bring in and cycle in for some Intimidates onto the Ursaluna. That would be my strategy, just because that Guts Flame Orb Ursaluna is just so dominant. We do see the Hariyama go ahead and swap out into the Earthworm, potentially predicting an Earthquake. Would be a good prediction there. We do see the Terra coming in from the Lansing Leafeons, and again, this is going to be interesting here because these two teams have a lot to lose, and this Terra Ghost from this Indeedee can be a defensive Terra, but we're going to have to go ahead and see what the strategy is here overall, as we do see the Ursaluna striking first. It is going to go ahead, actually, it's going to go ahead and Terra. And this is going to be a double Terra turn, which is very, very interesting. We're going to go ahead and see its Terra typing here, which we don't get access to that. It is Terra normal, but the two players do. So the Lansing Leafeons know what Terra types their opposing Pokemon are. We do see the Follow Me from the Indeedee. So again, potentially predicting like a Facade or a normal type move. We do see the U-turn from Landorus going into the Ursaluna, chipping away to that substitute. And it did fade. So that was enough to fade that substitute. So again, that's a really good move from the Lansing Leafeons, potentially allowing them to set back up and potentially, put some pressure onto the Ursaluna in the future. We do see the Dialga potentially coming in to swap in. And now that the Ursaluna is just a pure normal type, you can actually go ahead and attack it with multiple moves, as the Facade does no damage onto the Indeedee. That was a great prediction there from the Lansing Leafeons, and a great strategy there to basically nullify a whole turn of their opponent. Earthworm has some damage on it. Ursaluna is burned, but it's for its benefit because of Guts. It does have some damage. The substitute is down, which is the biggest thing here. Now, Lansing Leafeon seems to be in a little bit of a pickle. The amount of pressure that Ursaluna is exerting is very significant, but the Earthworm also is a threat, right? So that Earthworm will nullify any sort of Earthquake, and we did see that the opponent also has a Hariyama. So Hariyama could potentially have Wide Guard, but it's not in the field right now. So in this situation, you probably want to kind of take down the Earthworm and try to figure out a way to deal with Ursaluna. Now, we don't have the information on what other moves that Ursaluna has, so we do know it did have that Facade. It didn't do anything to Indeedee because of its Ghost typing. So is the question now, do you Follow Me again and try to take care of the Earthworm, or do you double down on the Ursaluna? And we do see the Draco Meter going into that Ursaluna slot. It is not enough to secure the KO. Dialga's special attack partially falls. Psyshock coming in from Indeedee. Will it be enough to pick up the KO on Ursaluna? And it is. So Ursaluna goes down, and that was a significant turn there for the Lansing Leafeons. Lansing Leafeons just wanting to deal with that threat as quickly as possible. And again, that was a really great play there. We do see the Iron Defense, though, from that Earthworm, and that's going to be a very big issue. So now, the big strategy here for the Lansing Leafeons would be potentially maybe adjust. Maybe adjust. The Earthworm could potentially go for Body Press because of that Iron Defense. So you know that your Indeedee will not get hit by that. So maybe build a play around that. But we don't necessarily know what the strategy is behind the Hariyama yet, as we only saw it try to fake out one time. It won't be able to fake out right now. So the question here is, do you double down with Dialga, continue to do damage? You do have a special attack drop. Or do you opt to switch into Landorus, get an Intimidate off, and lower the threat of that Hariyama, maybe lower any sort of physical threat from Earthworm? It's going to be interesting to see how the Lansing Leafeons approach this. As for the Kent Klawfs, what do we do here? I think you focus on the Dialga slot. You really can't attack the Indeedee right now unless if you have a Dark type move on either one of these Pokemon. But I would focus on that Dialga because from the mons we've seen, there's no offensive pressure there. But we do see the swap into the Landorus from the Lansing Leafeons. Again, Intimidate probably going to be big here on both the Earthworm and the Hariyama. Oh, Hariyama has Clear Amulet, so now we have some information here. Hariyama will not be affected by that Intimidate, which I probably just missed on the first turn. But again, very big. We do see the knockoff going into that Ndidi slot. It does a very good amount of damage. No item. We do see the Heavy Slam going into Ndidi. Not enough to secure the KO. So again, Ndidi lives to fight another day. You could potentially go for Psyshock, as we did see that Ndidi was faster. But then the question is, would you rather Psyshock the Earthworm or the Hariyama? Do you think you could secure enough damage with your Rock Slide onto Hariyama or not? Or do you rotate again just to secure another turn of forcing them to potentially switch the next turn? I think Ndidi faints here either way. I don't think Follow Me is the play here just because it's going to faint regardless. So I think you double attack here and potentially cycle through to get another Intimidate off and try to focus a turn. And we do see the U-turn going into the Earthworm, just enough to chip away a little bit. And again, that I think that is the best play that they had right there. But again, it could be anything can happen here. We do see the Dialga potentially swapping in. And it'll be interesting to see how this plays out here. So we do see Dialga come in. We do see the Psyshock coming in from Ndidi. It is enough to secure the KO on that Hariyama. So Hariyama is now out of the picture. And we're going to be left to one last Mon on the opponent's side of the field. With two Mons with the Earthworm on the field. We do see another Iron Defense. So again, if the Lansing Leafeons cannot secure a KO on this Earthworm, which I think should be the next Pokemon that should be focused on, it's going to be very difficult for them. Now, we do see the Kyogre on the opponent's side of the field, so this is really big. This is huge. Now, what would I do here in this situation? I would potentially swap Ndidi, bring in that Golduck because of Cloud9. That's exactly what the Lansing Leafeons are going to do. We do see Dialga potentially trying to go for Thunderbolt, which, again, I would probably advise against. I would focus on the Earthworm here and just don't worry. You have an Assault Vest. Don't worry about the Kyogre. But we do see that select that Thunderbolt on that Kyogre. I think that Earthworm potentially has Body Press on it. And because it has so much Iron Defenses, so many Iron Defenses up, it's going to be a threat. We do see the Origin Pulse coming in from the Kyogre. It does no damage to Dialga, basically. A lot of damage to Golduck. Thunderbolt going into the Kyogre slot does about half damage. And it does secure the Paralysis on Kyogre, which is huge. And this is going to be a very tight match here. We do see the Body Press coming in from the Earthworm, and it's enough to secure the KO on Dialga. That is a very big play. I think a Draco Meteor was probably the best play onto that Earthworm at that spot. But who's to say? Obviously, hindsight, right? Again, very, very good turn of events there. What would you do here as a player? Potentially go into Landorus, try to secure Ndidi for that last exchange between the Earthworm. But again, you know, you do have Kyogre on the field. It's probably going to go for Origin Pulse, hit both Mons. It is paralyzed, so we should be able to outspeed it on the Lansing Leafeon side of the field. But the amount of pressure that Kent Klawfs are, you know, just pushing forward to the Lansing Leafeon seems to be a little bit overpowering at this point. As we do see a Yawn, which is interesting for the... I would probably just focus on all offense here. But again, very good play there. I think the Ndidi outspeeds both Mons. So I think potentially that Heal Pulse might be a good option as well. As we saw, I kind of glance over it for a second there. But they could potentially just want to do put some damage output. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I think this turn is another position where the Lansing Leafeons can secure a win here. But it'll be tough. I think the Lansing Leafeons would only need one victory. So even if they lose this whole set, but they would get one out of the three, of the best of three, that would be enough for them to secure a win and move on to playoffs. But we do see the Yawn go into the Earthworm. We do see the Body Press from Earthworm. Not going to affect Ndidi. And we do see the Origin Pulse coming in from Kyogre. It secures a KO on Ndidi. Golduck is still up on the field. I don't think I saw Protect on Golduck. So this is going to be another one of those turns where it's going to be very difficult to determine, you know, how things will play out. Golduck will recover some of its HP. It does have that leftovers. And again, very interesting how things are playing out here. We do see the Intimidate hit the Earthworm. We do see Intimidate hit the Kyogre. Not that it matters much on the Kyogre. We do see a Grass Knot potentially going into the Kyogre slot. As then now at this point, do you want to attack or do you want to protect? Again, very interesting what choice the Lansing Leafeons may opt to go for here. I would potentially just say, hey, go for protect. But we do see the Rock Slide go in. It does get some damage on the Kyogre. We do see the Grass Knot going into the Kyogre. Is it going to be enough? It's enough to secure the KO. Kyogre is out of the match right now. And this is going to be tough because that Earthworm, it flinched. This is insane. It seems like the Lansing Leafeons may be able to secure a win here. And by securing the round one, like the game one win, that would be enough to secure playoffs for them. So again, Earthworm being the last Mon on this field, but the Lansing Leafeons not having any move to hit this Mon with, it's going to be really difficult for them to secure this KO as they have to chip away with physical damage and non-very effective damage as well. Again, this is going to be a significant play coming from the Lansing Leafeons. They cannot hit Earthquake. They have to hit Rock Slide. Rock Slide will do nothing, especially because of the damage. Oh my goodness. I think the Lansing Leafeons will be so close to playoffs. Staring playoffs straight in the eye of the Earthworm and not being able to secure it. We did see the Calm Mind. Earthworm is fast asleep. All Earthworm needs to do is wake up. If Earthworm wakes up, it knocks out the Golduck. And then Landorus is the only Mon on the field, and it will not be able to knock out the Earthworm in time. So again, this is going to be a very difficult win here for the Lansing Leafeons. But again, I think they're stuck in a standstill here. The Earthworm has positioned itself in a way where I do not believe the Lansing Leafeons will have enough time to secure a KO. They need to see how heavy the Earthworm is for that Grass Knot to do any sort of damage at all. As we do see the Grass Knot come in. And it does a good amount of damage. That is a very good amount of damage. Does the Earthworm wake up? It wakes up. It does Body Press. It knocks out the Golduck. And I think that just seals the deal here for the Lansing Leafeons for game one. Again, the amount of damage that the Landorus would have to do for the Earthworm, I don't think there's enough. I don't think there's enough. I don't think the Landorus can knock out this Earthworm unless there's a critical hit, a few flinches in the mix. I think it's all going to be left to that Rock Slide. U-turn won't do enough damage. Rock Slide, he's checking right now how much damage the Rock Slide does. I think the Lansing Leafeon know that they're in a pickle here. They did get a flinch. They get a flinch. So again, it's all going to be flinch and critical hits at this point. Just keep clicking the Rock Slide and hope for the best. We do see another Rock Slide. And is there another flinch here? Another flinch. Oh my goodness. This is going to be a match, ladies and gentlemen. I do not know if the Lansing Leafeons can secure any more wins here just by flinching their opponent. Landorus protects itself, and we do see another Iron Defense from the Earthworm to further solidify the fact that the Lansing Leafeons are not winning this one. I think it's pretty secure at this point. I would assume the Earthworm and the Kent Klawfs go for the Body Press and try to just secure the KO at this point. I think they should have enough to secure with the amount of damage they do. We do see the Body Press come through. It is not enough to secure the KO on the Landorus, but we do see a berry here on Landorus as well. And it's going to be a Citrus Berry. So again, just delaying the inevitable, honestly. Potentially trying to go for some more flinches here as well. As we do see another Body Press coming through. Not enough to secure the KO on the Landorus. And we'll have to, with that Body Press not being quite enough, it's going to be interesting to see if the Rock Slide can secure a few flinches here like we were just saying. And we see no flinch. We see the Body Press coming in, securing the victory for the Kent Klawfs. So again, the Lansing Leafeons being so close to victory there and just being completely walled by the Earthworm and its Iron Defenses, which honestly, at first glance, you wouldn't even think that would be an issue. Just seeing, the special attacks from the Dialga, the Indeedee with special attacks as well. But then if you looked at the move pool of the Golduck, it did just have Ice Beam. So again, that potentially could have caused some issues there. I think it was more so probably preparing for the possibility of a Terra Grass Ursaluna potentially. I'm not too sure what the thought process was there. But again, very, very tough loss for the Lansing Leafeons. And it's going to be interesting to see how they adjust coming into the game too. Because, they really just need one win. If they get their one win, they're in playoffs. If they don't, they potentially miss playoffs, honestly. And it would be completely reliant on the rest of the players in the division. And with the amount of competitiveness in that division, it'd be really tough to just, lean on the fact that, hey, maybe one of these players will lose and that would get me into playoffs. So again, and remember, we're seeing this from the perspective of the video side. So we're seeing it from the Lansing Leafeons side right now, and we could only assume more or less what the Kent Klawfs are doing on their end. But again, what the Kent Klawfs need to do to win, to secure the complete and total shutout, potentially I would stick with the same strategy. Honestly, I don't think I'd do anything very different here. If I did anything different, I'd just lead all offense at this point. You took the Lansing Leafeons, you took a win from them. Potentially lead off with the Tornadus Kyogre. Get the Tailwind in with Prankster and just go out on all-out, offense. Honestly, Tailwind and Water Spout. There's nothing on the Lansing Leafeons team that can stop that. Everything will take good damage at least. The Dialga potentially being the one with the most amount of defense towards the Water Spout. But again, we'll see how both teams adjust here and what they are willing to do to secure a victory to get them into playoffs. Because again, winning team makes playoffs. So let's go ahead and see what happens here. And we do see the Kent Klawfs leading off with Kyogre and Tornadus, as we just mentioned. So again, this might be an all-out offense this time around, as you can anticipate here from the Kent Klawfs side, that Indeedee is going to go ahead and use Follow Me. And then you have the Braviary potentially doing whatever it wants to do, but I don't think the Braviary has enough juice to secure a one-shot knockout on the Kyogre or the Tornadus. But Tornadus potentially could have like a Sash or something of the sorts to just secure the fact that you're going to get a Tailwind up. But again, we'll see what the opponent tries to do here. There's a potential for Trick Room as well for the Lansing Leafeons, but again, you might be benefiting what may be lingering in the back of the Kent Klawfs' team, which is Inertia Luna. Again, this team comp, we've said it since week 1, was one of those highest power ranking teams because it's just so offensively capable of taking down and shutting down teams. And that's the Kent Klawfs' team, of course. And we do see the Indeedee trying to adjust and trying to figure out how to deal with this offensive pressure coming from the opponent's side. Right now, this would be the equivalent to the Sword and Shield Zacian offensive pressure. But again, Tornadus, Kyogre, and Zacian were all offensive in Sword and Shield, so we don't even have to go that far. This is literally a Sword and Shield offensive pressure here. We do see a double swap from the Lansing Leafeons as we see the Tailwind. The Lansing Leafeons are trying to take some damage, but 2 swap outs is going to completely kill your momentum, and you are actually taking a significant amount of damage here for free. And now the opponent has set up both a Tailwind and put out an immense amount of damage with that Water Spout. Now you've revealed all your cards as well to your opponent. They know all 4 of your Pokemon, and they can kind of adjust as they see fit here. We do see a Yawn potentially going into the Kyogre slot, as we can see Tornadus potentially with the Prankster ability have Taunt and potentially try to taunt the Golduck, but that wouldn't work because of the terrain. So something to keep in mind as we do see the Earthworm come in to the field, which again was the dominant Pokemon from last match. We do see the 1 HP Golduck living with the dream there. We see Thunderbolt coming from Dialga, going onto the Tornadus. Not enough to secure the KO. It does have that Focus Sash we were speculating earlier in the commentary here. We do see the Yawn going into the Earthworm, but Earthworm is no stranger to being asleep, as it was sleeping last game and still won. So again, Lansing Leafeons not in a good spot here, as the Kent Klawfs again have total domination of the momentum here. We potentially may see yet another swap from the Lansing Leafeons as they try to prevent the Dialga from getting body pressed from the Earthworm, and as they may also speculate of their opponent maybe swapping. And if I'm the Kent Klawfs, I continue to push that offense button, right? Keep pressing offense. I would potentially try to find my Kyogre back in and then continue to Water Spout as I still have Tailwind. We do see the Earthworm swapping out, so that Yawn will be nullified. And we do see Kyogre coming back in. Again, the amount of pressure these two are exuding right now. Golduck is going to go ahead and swap out. Again, we have a Mon with a little over HP in the back, so that benefits the Kent Klawfs. As we do see the Braviary here, we do see Snowscape coming from the Tornadus. Again, and it's going to start to snow here, which is going to be very interesting what the strategy is here. We do see a Thunderbolt going on to Kyogre. This is a significantly rough outing there for that Kyogre Tornadus. It's going to be interesting to see how the adjustment is played. I think the Tailwind is still up. They have one more turn of Tailwind So Kyogre will be outspeeding, but again, you know, Water Spout won't be doing as much damage, and you set up your own snow. So the little extra boost you would get from the rain probably isn't there. It's going to be interesting to see what the strategy is here, right? So Tornadus sets up snow. Kyogre potentially goes for Origin Pulse since we saw it had it. It could potentially also just go for an electric move, as it does have access to electric moves, or it could go for Protect. Anything is possible. A swap. Anything, again, like we said before, is entirely possible here. I think the Lansing Leafeons have to go all special attack mode here. No physical attacks in case that Earthworm comes back in. I think you just go full on special attack. You do go ahead and see a Terra. Is this going to be the Kyogre? Kyogre is going to go ahead and Terrasilize. Is it a Terra Ice? It is indeed Terra Ice. So we are probably going to see an Ice Beam, probably a Terra Blast. But the Kyogre is going to go ahead and potentially just utilize the snow, as we do see the Icy Wind from Tornadus to try to get the opponent to be slower, potentially breaking any sashes the opponent might have. Braviary's speed's going to fall. Dialga's speed is going to fall. This would be a great time for for Trick Room, as we do see Blizzard from Kyogre. And is it going to be enough? It secures a KO on Braviary. Dialga is going to go ahead and still live, but again, remember, it has that Assault Vest, so it should be living well. We do see a Thunderbolt knocking out the Tornadus as we do exchange blows here. But again, the amount of pressure the Kent Klawfs have over the Lansing Leafeons is pretty significant. And Tailwind does peter out here. But, you know, the Lansing Leafeons would need to start using Heal Pulse from that Indeedee in order to recover HP on Dialga. I don't think that's going to be enough. And we do see the Ursaluna come in this turn. So again, don't try to go for Trick Room. The Ursaluna is there. That would seal your fate, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how this turn plays out. Kyogre could potentially outspeed both these Mons, but, you know, since we do see the fact that it's a Terra Ice, Grass Knot will not secure that KO from where it's at on Kyogre, at least. So you're going to have to rethink your strategy, right? Do you Terra Dragon and go for Draco Meteor and try to annihilate the Kyogre? What do you do about the Ursaluna then? Because it's going to probably Protect and go for that Guts next turn and just start demolishing your team. So it's going to become a game of strategy at this point. And I continue to think maybe swapping into Indeedee and having Indeedee go for a Heal Pulse on Dialga, while Dialga maybe Draco Meteor to Kyogre. And then you try to figure out how to deal with the Ursaluna. But at that point, I think you probably have more chances because you have more HP. This is going to be a tough outing for the Lansing Leafeons. We do see a withdraw from the Kent Klawfs, which is going to be very, very interesting, as they do go ahead and bring out the Earthworm. So again, the swapping may just disrupt the Lansing Leafeon strategy here, as we do see them opt to go ahead and Terrasilize their Dialga. And this is a very intense match here, as you do see the Terra Dragon on this Dialga. And it's going to be, I don't know if it was Draco Meteor, I don't know if it's going to be enough. We do see the Ice Beam from Golduck into the Ursaluna slot. Not enough to even get to half HP. We do see the Earthquake from Ursaluna. Earthworm is going to go ahead and eat that up. Golduck is going to go ahead and get knocked out. Dialga is going to go ahead and get knocked out as well. So the Ursaluna is going to secure a double KO here, and the Dialga is not going to have a chance to even do anything with its Terra. What an unfortunate turn of events, and now the Lansing Leafeons are just left with an Indeedee. I think the Lansing Leafeons are starting to realize here that there's a solid chance that playoff contention after such a dominant season is slowly slipping away here against an Ursaluna and an Earthworm. It's going to be very difficult for these trainers to finalize anything here. Let's go ahead and see how this turn plays out. We see the Side Shock coming in to the Ursaluna slot. It's not enough to secure the KO. And Ursaluna going for Earthquake, not going to go ahead and affect Earthworm at all, but how much damage will it do to the Indeedee? It's almost enough to secure a one-hit KO. Iron Defense going on to the Earthworm just to secure the fact that they are going to go ahead and dominate. They could have just gone for the Body Press and secured the KO, but this turn will be it. The Lansing Leafeons will go ahead and lose their match against the Kent Klawfs in the final week of the regular season, as Ursaluna protects itself. Indeedee cannot hit it, and now the Earthworm is potentially setting itself up to secure the KO here with the Heavy Slam. And it does indeed. The Kent Klawfs win a 2-0 victory against the Lansing Leafeons, and the Kent Klawfs secure playoffs with this win. So the Kent Klawfs will make it to playoffs, and it will be us reviewing the finalists right after this to see who makes it.